8 kings, ruling for 241,000 years. History says it's impossible. Science calls it a myth, but the clay tablets found in Iraq tell a different story. They reveal a time before the Great Flood, before our DNA was changed, before the reset. The texts don't say we evolved. They say kingship was lowered from heaven. The Anunnaki, those who came from the sky, were they gods or were they architects? We are a species with amnesia, trying to remember our parents. Did we evolve or were we designed? Find out on Hidden History Files. Imagine opening a history book and finding something that simply shouldn't exist. A list of kings, but with reigns longer than the entire history of human civilization. Al-Ulim ruled for 28,800 years. Al-Algar ruled for 36,000 years. 8 kings, ruling for a total of 241,200 years, before a great flood swept over the earth. This isn't science fiction. This is the Sumerian King List, carved on a real clay prism found in the sands of modern-day Iraq. When scholars first translated it, they laughed. They called it myth. They called it fantasy. But if it's just a fairy tale, why does this fantasy line up perfectly with events described in the Bible? Why does it echo the legends of every ancient culture on Earth? Tonight, we are not just reading old numbers. We are decoding a message, a secret code left by the first civilization we know of, the Sumerians. Long before Rome conquered the world, before the pyramids of Egypt pierced the sky, there was Sumer. In the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, cities appeared that seemed to come out of nowhere. Uruk, Eridu. They had stone buildings, complex temples, organized streets and schools. They invented the wheel, formal law codes, and most importantly, writing. Archaeologists dig into the ground, and they don't find a slow evolution from primitive tribes to advanced cities. It's almost instantaneous. Suddenly, there is civilization, and they left behind thousands of clay tablets covered in wedge-shaped marks called cuneiform. On these tablets, they didn't just record grain and taxes, they recorded their history. And their history begins with a very strange claim: kingship was lowered from heaven. For centuries, cuneiform was a dead language. It looked like bird tracks in the mud. No one could read it. It was as if the ancient world had written us a letter and thrown away the key. But in the 19th century, scholars finally cracked the code. And when the language began to speak again, the first voice we heard was not of a human king. It was the voice of the Anunnaki. The word literally translates to those who from heaven to earth came. The tablets described them as great beings, living gods who walked among men. They taught humans how to farm, how to build, how to rule. When you realize that the very first thing this writing system tells us is, we were taught by gods from the sky, the Sumerian King List suddenly sounds less like a fairy tale and more like a mission report. The King List divides history into 2 eras: before the flood and after the flood. Before the flood, kings ruled for thousands of years. After the flood, the lifespans dropped dramatically: 1,200 years, then 900, then 100. It is as if the biological clock of humanity was reset. The tablets tell of a god, Enlil, who decided to wipe out humanity with a massive flood because they were too noisy. Another god, Enki, disagreed. He warned a human named Ziusudra, the Sumerian Noah, to build a massive boat. This story was carved in clay thousands of years before the Bible was written. Is it a coincidence? Or is it a memory of a global catastrophe that changed our DNA forever? Perhaps the long rains represent a time when the atmosphere or our genetics allowed for something more. In the 1970s, researcher Zecharia Sitchin proposed a theory that shocked the world. He claimed that the Anunnaki were not gods, but extraterrestrials from a planet called Nibiru. According to his translation, they came here for one thing: gold. They needed workers to mine it, so they genetically engineered a primitive hominid to create Adamu, the first man. Mainstream science rejects this completely. They say Sitchin mistranslated the texts, but look at the evidence. Why do we find ancient gold mines in South Africa dating back 100,000 years? Why does human DNA have fused chromosomes that distinguish us from all other primates? Whether Sitchin was right or wrong, he asks the ultimate question: did we evolve, or were we designed? So, what is the Sumerian Secret Code? Maybe it's just mythology, a way for ancient kings to feel important. Or maybe it is a record of contact, a log file left behind by the architects of humanity. The tablets sit quietly in museums, the wedge marks fading with time, but the message remains. We are a species with amnesia, trying to remember our parents, and the answer might not be in the future, but buried deep in our past, waiting for us to read it again.